Good morning and welcome to another video. So I was planning on making a cost video maybe in a year's time or something like that, 6 months, 3 months, whatever. But no, I'm making one already because I've already had a bill for the Mercedes. So let's jump in it and yeah, see how bad it was. Ooh, let's have a cup of tea. Okay, so I took the car to a company called MB Tech in Warrington, and they're not too far from me, and I'd heard really good things about them on the internet, and those things were true. They were excellent customer service and kept me informed. So why did I take my car to the garage? Well, I wanted some new spark plugs. I've got some big trips coming up in this car, which I cannot wait for, and it's coming on for 60,000 miles now, so more on that later. Also, there's a little bit of a humming noise at 70 miles an hour. To me, it sounded like a wheel bearing, because when I went round a right-hand corner, it got louder, and when I went round a left-hand corner, it got quieter and almost went away entirely. When you get up to speed at 70 miles an hour, it's sort of like a hum, a vroom, 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 like that, a very slight hum, and it just got worse the faster you went. So the car's booked in, and I thought before I take it, I best just check all the fluids. I like checking fluids, and I wanted to make sure there's no leak because obviously the car is still new to me. I'm glad I did this because the power steering fluid reservoir was not reading on the dipsticks. So the Mercedes cap is actually really cool, and it has like a dipstick on the end of the cap, which is a very nice design. This dipstick didn't have any fluid on the end of it, so I thought I'd ask them to check for a leak on that as well, just to make sure, because it's a closed system and it shouldn't really leak. There was a 2-week waiting list, which I didn't think was too bad given that they are an AMG specialist. So the guys at MB Tech said that they could hear a noise from the rear of the car, but not from the front of the car where I was hearing it from. So I said, oh, that's interesting. I couldn't hear a noise from the rear of the car, but I could hear one from the front of the car. So yeah, they had a look at the rear of the car and they found some spacers on it. So I didn't even know that the car had spacers on the rear, and I'm just going to pull over here to show you what those spacers look like. Can you see why I don't like these? They're just generic nonsense. Why has it got so many holes in it? Is that for lightweight? I don't know. I think it's so that it can fit loads of different cars. It looks about 10 mil to me, that does. I'll measure it when I get home, but yeah, I'm not a fan of these. They put excess load on your hub, which doesn't need to be there. And these can ruin your wheel bearings a lot faster than if you didn't have them. So yeah, had both of these taken off the rear, and like I said, didn't even know they were on there, to be honest. So good riddance, I say. So one of the original reasons that I booked the car in was to get new spark plugs in it, and those are only £12.94 each, but obviously when you have 8 of them it soon adds up. So 8 times £12.94 I think is like £103, £104, something like that. Obviously on top of that you have the labour. Now MB Tech charged me 1.3 hours labour, and their labour rate, I can't exactly remember it, but I think it came to about £91 to do the spark plugs. All in all, you're at around 200 quid for a new set of spark plugs in this car. And actually looking at the service history, this car is now on its 3rd set of spark plugs, which is good, because that means that the previous owners have also understood the necessity of having nice, shiny new spark plugs. So they rang me up at the end of day 1, they said the car is ready to collect, but we're really not sure what the noise is. We can hear it as well, but we're not 100% sure what it is. And I said, well, you know, keep it there and try and figure out what it is. What they looked at next was the tyres. Now the tyre, they said the front left tyre had a slight step on it. So what they did was they took the left tyre and put it on the right hand side of the car and took it for another test drive. They then said that the noise had actually moved from the left side to the right side, which means that it was something to do with that wheel. They said, Dom, let's get you 2 new tyres for the front and see if the noise goes away. So their supplier had some Michelin Pilot Super Sports at the ready, so I said, yeah, stick the Super Sports on it, see if the noise goes away, and if it does, then we're quids in. They fitted the 2 new tyres and they said it was massively better. Now, I would say that's an understatement. I would say it was completely fixed, and the vibration has completely gone away. But on the road test of the new tyres, they said that it was pulling slightly to the left on the motorway. I did notice that, but it wasn't enough that it bothered me. But they advised that I had a new geometry on the car. They did that as well, which was perfect. And that only cost £75, which is the cheapest geometry I've ever paid for. I am quite fussy about my geometry. in total we had 8 new spark plugs. They checked all of the engine mounts, they checked the power steering system for leaks, they said there isn't any. They said there's slightly worn engine mounts, but you know, it's a 9-year-old car with a big engine. 8 new spark plugs, the labour for that. 2 new front tyres, labour and fitting for those, and the parts cost obviously. What else we had? 3 hours labour to find out, swapping the tyres around, taking for test drives, seeing what's happening with the noise. The geometry, where they adjusted the front and rear toe, and I think that's it, yeah. So that is a total cost to me of £906. So fair play to them, they've got rid of the noise. It wasn't broken, but I could hear it and it annoyed me. And for the total sum of £906 for 2 new tyres, all the labour and some new spark plugs, I think that was a bit of a bargain really. Because it could have been anything, you know, it could have been a new transmission, it could have been drive shafts, wheel bearing, and all it was the tyres. So thank you very much to the guys at MB Tech for putting the time in and making sure that the car is right. So let me know your comments down below. Do you think that was an expensive fix? Do you think that that's to be expected? Do you think that, you know, a car of this value with this much power is kind of standard? I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.